Hello, my dear students. How are you? Good? Fantastic. What's my name? Profe Kyle, exactly. What do I do for a living? I teach English to Latinos, even though this here is a simple English video, so if you are from Russia, China, Japan, Indonesia, you're welcome here too. Latinos are very friendly people. I promise they won't bite. And yes, like I said, this is a simple English video. So I'm going to be speaking in simple English because the best way to learn English is by actually experiencing and listening to English. But it's very difficult because normal English materials like TV shows, movies, or books are not meant for English learners. But this video is meant for English learners. In fact, turn on the subtitles right here if you want a little bit of extra help while you watch the video. Now in today's simple English video, I'm talking about one of my favorite countries in the world, Colombia. Now, the things I'm going to say in this video might not make the people in Colombia very happy, but luckily, Colombians aren't overly sensitive. I would say out of all the Latinos, Argentinians are the most sensitive. But don't worry, Argentinians, your video will come. And I want to talk today about Colombian food. Alright, now before I start this, Colombians who are watching this, there are good things about Colombia. Nature is incredible. The juices are some of the most delicious and diverse in the world. You guys are incredibly friendly, and when I'm in Colombia, you invite me to experience your country to the fullest. And yes, Colombian food is better than Canadian food. Now that I've said that, I'm going to say what most gringos think about Colombian food. Because one of the most common questions I get when I'm in Colombia, and I don't know why, is what do I think about the food? And based on how often I receive this question, it seems like for some reason Colombians are getting information from somebody, some gringo, some foreigner, that Colombia has some of the best food in the world. But when I talk to all the other gringos or I read comments from other gringos about Colombia, we say all the nice things I've already said about the country. But what we always say is we never go to Colombia for the food because Colombian food is boring. I know, if you're Colombian, the first reaction you're going to have is, what? Which, again, is surprising for me. It's very strange how Colombians think they have some of the best food in the world. Now, when I make this comparison, I'm comparing Colombian food to some of the best food in the world for everybody else. So that would include Mexican food. That would include Peruvian food. That would include Italian food or French food. I've never really tried Japanese food or Indian food or Asian food, so I'm not too sure about that. Who knows, maybe Colombian food is better than those foods. But I would say, compared to Mexican food and Peruvian food and even Ecuadorian food, Colombian food is kind of boring. Now, why? Why is Colombian food boring to gringos? Well, actually, there is a gringo that lives in Colombia. I believe he lives on the Caribbean coast in Barranquilla, Cartagena, something like that. And he's a graphic designer. And many times Colombians will send me his drawings. And you probably should see it right here. He made a graphic showing the top 20 tastes of Colombia. And now this is voted on by Colombians. I believe it says right here. Yeah, voted by you somewhere in the social media post. So if you're Colombian, this is what you guys think is the best food in Colombia. If you're not Colombian, let me explain a few of these dishes. So in first place, we have ajiaco. Ajiaco is a soup which is incredibly common in Colombia. I don't know if it's Bogotano, Boyacense, or Caleño, because when I talk to Caleños, they seem to say it's from Cali, but at the same time, it seems most popular in Bogota. So I'm not too sure. Now, I agree, this is one of the best dishes in Colombia. But is it incredibly tasty? Is it going to give you an orgasm in your mouth? No. It's good soup. I like good soup. Actually, one of the good things about Colombia is that it has a lot of soup. And soup is incredibly healthy for you. And it's nice to have when it's a little bit cold outside. And in a place like Bogota, for example, it can be a little bit cold. So it's nice to eat soup. But is it incredible? No. I would never say to somebody who's not Colombian and not in Colombia that, oh, you gotta try ajiaco, it's the greatest thing in the world. No, it's good soup. Next, we got bandeja paisa. For many Colombians, it's the typical Colombian dish. Not really that exciting. More or less, it's beans, an egg, an avocado, rice. I'm trying to see, sometimes they have something they call chicharrón, which is a type of pork. Sometimes instead of chicharrón, they have like a sausage. But more or less, that's what it is. Now, if you don't know this, if you're Colombian, Latino, or from another part of the world, I'm Canadian. Canadians, Americans, Australians, Europeans, we like to say that Britain has some of the most boring food in the world. And the typical English breakfast is very, very similar to the bandeja paisa. And for gringos, it is an incredibly boring breakfast. So in a way, this is very similar to English breakfast. The only difference is that the English have it for breakfast and Colombians have it for lunch. But we have the ajiaco, we have the bandeja paisa. There's not really any special preparation, there's not really any special techniques used, there aren't any special spices used in these dishes like in Mexico, Peru, France, or Italy. And I don't want to go through all of these, but after this you got arepa de huevo, you have patacón, you have empanada, you have lechona, you have sancocho, you have tamal, you have arepa de choclo, you have chocorramo, which isn't even food, it's more junk food. These are all foods just like bandeja paisa and ajiaco, which don't really have any flavor. There's no orgasm in the mouth. It's more or less the basic ingredients mixed together and presented to you. And if you go to Colombia, or if you're in Colombia and you have the regular lunch, what is the regular lunch for Colombians? It's a portion of meat. It can be beef, pork, or chicken. But again, basic preparation. No special spices, maybe just a little bit of salt, grilled, done. It has rice, and then they're gonna have either lentils or beans. And then they'll have a salad with a little bit of salad dressing. But again, a salad dressing isn't even special. I don't even know if it's homemade or if they just buy it from the store. But that's a very basic lunch, and for Colombians, they love it. And again, if there's one thing about Colombia, is that when they feed you a lot. And the feeling I get from Colombians is that the more food, the better. Whereas in other parts of the world, the better tasting the food, the better. For me, I wouldn't be surprised if I made a huge thing of beans and rice and lentils and had a big plate like this with rice, beans, lentils, and I gave it to Colombian. And I would say, is this a delicious dish? I don't do any special preparation, basic preparation. I cook it with water. That's it. I'm pretty sure 99% of Colombians will tell me, oh my God, this is the best, greatest tasting food in the world. Because from what I've seen in Colombia, the more food, the better. So that's one thing I like about Colombian food. When they feed you a lot. But Colombians, if you ever wonder why gringos don't think Colombian food is very tasty, it's because there's not really any special preparation. It's just basic food. It seems like food for survival. You get just enough food to get through the day. You're not trying to give an orgasm in the mouth. You're not trying to make somebody say, oh my God, the tastes in my mouth are incredible. No, main focus of Colombian food is to fill up your stomach as much as possible. Now, if you're Colombian, you might be asking, from these 20 tastes, what do I think as a gringo would qualify as tasty food? Food that might impress somebody from Mexico or somebody from Peru or somebody from a different part of the world that has tried different flavors. I would probably say sopa de mote. Out of all of these things, I would say the thing that is the most exotic, that has exotic flavors, that might even have exotic preparation, would be the sopa de mote. Or actually, I don't know if sopa de mote is the same as mote de queso. I prefer mote de queso. I don't know if it's the same thing or not. If you're Colombian, let me know. I can't remember if they're the same or different. And another thing for Colombians, for some reason, you guys always ask about the food. But when it comes to things you put in your mouth or put in your body, it's not the best thing from Colombia. The first question you should be asking gringos when they are in Colombia is not about the food. Because you know from this video, even if it hurts you, even if you don't like it, the first thing you should ask is, what do we think about the juices? Yes, the juices. For some reason, Colombians, when I say one of the best things about Colombia are the juices, they give me a look like, juices? But yes, if you're Colombian and you've never left Colombia, lulada does not exist anywhere else in the world. Well, at least that I know of. Jugo de lulo. Ooh, that's very Colombian. It might exist in Venezuela or Ecuador or another country, but very Colombian. Agua de panela. Do not have that in Canada, the United States. Even Mexicans don't have that. Jugo de maracuya. I do know Brazilians have maracuya. I'm pretty sure they have that juice. I know other Latinos have jugo de maracuya. But again, in Gringolandia, we do not have those juices. So, instead of asking about the food, because I've just revealed to you, I don't know who is telling you that you have incredible food, but all the gringos I talk to, the first thing that they say or I say is, the food fills you up, but it's really not that tasty. So instead of asking that question and being offended or being surprised, ask about the juices. Ask about the fruits. And this is why it's so confusing why Colombia has boring food, because Colombia is in the top 3, I believe, of most biodiverse countries in the world. You would think in a country with so many ingredients to choose from that the Colombians would constantly be experimenting with new flavors to give the world more mouth orgasms. But it's the opposite. If somebody were to eat the Colombian food and they didn't know it was from Colombia and they had to guess where the food was from, they might say it's from Libya or Morocco, where it's mostly desert, because in those countries there's not a lot of ingredients to choose from, so they have to make basic dishes. And when you go to Colombia, the dishes are very basic. And again, it's confusing. If you're Colombian, answer me that. Why don't Colombians experiment more with all the different herbs, spices, fruits, plants that exist in the country? Because I've been to Colombia many times. I've lived there for more than 2 years. until now, and I still don't have an answer to that question. And it's kind of funny with this list here. One of my favorite dishes, and something that is delicious, is the cazuela de mariscos from the Pacific. And I do not see it here. So again, it seems like Colombians really don't like super tasty exotic flavors. They want basic, they want bland, and they want big portions. That's what I understand about Colombians. So if you're from Colombia, tell me why that is. If you're not from Colombia, you plan on visiting, now you know a little bit more. If you're going to Colombia, try the juices. The juices are incredible, especially if you go to Cali or the Valle de Cauca. They have so many different fruit salads and juices to try. It's incredible. But if you're going for the food, you're probably going to be disappointed. And I guess one last example are the arepas. Venezuelans have better arepas, I will say that. The Colombian arepa, Colombians, the most creative thing they've done with the arepa is put ham and cheese in it. And again, it's confusing because they love an arepa with ham and cheese. And when you ask them about Venezuelan arepas, which are more unique, there's more preparation behind them, there's more love behind them, they will still tell you that their arepas are better, even though all they do is put ham and cheese inside. Again, it's confusing. So hopefully this helped you wherever you're from. This is a simple English video, of course, giving you interesting opinions so that you are forced to, you are enticed to, baited into listening to my English. So if you like the video and you want more videos like this, like it, subscribe, and click on the bell button. And of course, if you have questions about Latin America, about Canada, about the US, that you want me to answer you in English, leave your question down below in the comments. And I'll probably also leave some comprehension questions if you want to practice a bit more English. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next simple English video, my dear, dear student.